This is my mother, Duan Yun Lei, a doctor of biochemistry and a computer scientist, and this is her story. Yun Lei was born on June 28, 1965 in Baotou, a large industrial city in China's region of Inner Mongolia. She was the middle child out of 3, with an older sister and a younger brother. Both her parents were employed and brought in a decent income, so living in the city was not too bad. However, soon for her, that would change. At age 1, because her parents were too busy, she was sent to live at her aunt's rural home, away from her parents and away from her siblings and away from the city.
然后我的爹妈父母呢都很忙，就把我送回了我大姨家。我不到1岁就送回了农村，河北农村。这种做法是非常不正确的。这种孩子从小就是有了一种跟母亲分离的，这是在现代心理学中是绝对不能做的。
She spent around 4 years there, living with her aunt and her aunt's children. Life on the farm was a lot more difficult than it would have been in the city, but as my mom always does, she managed. Upon returning to her parents at age 5, she had lived most of her life away from them and away from the city. So it was very difficult to adjust to the new lifestyle. She was teased often by the other children in Balto because of her rural accent, and internally, she had to get used to this whole new world and say goodbye to the family that she lived with for the past 4 years. After settling back down into her life in the city, Yun Lei discovered that she was quite talented at academics. This worked out well for her because during the 80s, schools in China only valued test scores and grades, both of which she excelled at. She and her parents had no idea what sort of career or major was best for her, but soon she decided that studying chemistry was her path. Soon she was studying chemistry at one of China's top schools, the University of Science and Technology of China. After graduating in 1987 with a bachelor's in chemistry, she began to settle down and eventually found a job in Beijing. Around this time, the country began to open up, and she saw that many of her friends and classmates had been moving to America in search of new opportunities. Seeing the possibilities the US had for her career, she decided that although it would be difficult, moving to America and continuing her studies there would be a very good decision. Moving to and living in America was quite a challenge for Yun Lei and her husband. In order to make ends meet, they worked as teaching and research assistants at Auburn University while attending their own classes there in order to support themselves. It was by no means an easy life, especially as they were in a somewhat unfamiliar country, but they still found ways to enjoy it, like driving to Disneyland on their days off and participating in Auburn's large football culture. In the early 2000s, in the midst of the dot-com bubble, an opportunity popped up to work for a company in California using computer science. It was a tough decision for Yun Lei, especially because up until this point, she had mainly been working with biochemistry. However, ultimately, seeing the potential in the field, she decided to move to California. Now with a decent income in California, Yun Lei felt like it was time to have children. However, at this point, because of past medical conditions, it was quite difficult. Thankfully, though, eventually she gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. But now she encountered another dilemma. Finding herself with a decent job in a growing industry, she had a lot of potential to grow her career. But her identity as a mother would soon come to challenge that.
我就想好了，我就想比较稳定的，这样的话我可以照顾我的家庭。所以我在一个公司里头待了20多年，23年。
And this brings us to today. After making these sacrifices, Yun Lei has had a lot of time to reflect on her decisions. And I believe that the conclusions that she lives with now are very, very inspirational.
所以我不觉得我就是说这个生活上我有多么的不满意。你要现在问我只说我不跟我的同学里头那些非常成功的企业家比，我不跟他们比，因为他们所经过的我没有经过过，我为他们感到高兴，我同时也为我自己高兴，这是我的生活。